One last question from Street Fighter 5 for the win, who is my buddy. Great review as always. It's talking about the Oro statue review. What did you think of story mode? So, story mode I thought was a good start. That's what I'm going to call it, a good start. Okay, I don't want to be down about it because I want them in the future to take story mode more seriously. Because I buy other games for story mode. I buy Injustice for story mode. I buy Mortal Kombat for story mode. Tekken not so much, but I'm going to buy Tekken for Akuma. There are reasons why I buy other games, and all of them are emotional attachment. I'm emotionally attached to Akuma. I want to play story mode because I'm interested in the story and the characters and see what's going on. So I thought story mode came too late. You just can't release a game and then 6 months later here's story mode. And it was cut. It felt like it was rushed. It felt like a lot of scenes were missing. Nikali's role wasn't clearly explained. It was hinted at. In a weird way, I feel like maybe they cut some scenes or didn't animate them because they ran out of time. But Nikali, there's a moment where Ryu sees Nikali, then he has a vision of M. Bison. Now, why does he have a vision of M. Bison via Nikali? What's going on there? So is there a connection between Nikali and M. Bison? It would have been cool if there was. It would have been cool if M. Bison had something to do with bringing Nikali, or maybe the Illuminati had something to do with bringing Nikali into this world at this time. It's just like, he appears every 100 years to fight people. Fuck it. And he didn't do a very good job of that. He did a really poor job of that. It's supposed to be this, the warrior prophet talks about this amazing warrior, Nikali, who comes once every 100 years to fight the best warriors. He does a really piss poor job at doing that. Which sucked, story-wise, because I thought he was a really interesting character. But they did some things really well. If I had time, and maybe I do, but maybe I should at some point do my top 5 moments from story mode, because it's kind of fun. And I thought Jury, I used to hate Jury, I love her now. I think she's amazing now. I thought her character was awesome. I thought Laura was horrendous as a character. So beautiful, and then all of a sudden she opens her mouth, and you're just like... They just made her such a repulsive character. And they made Sean 5 years old. So weird. But I have to say, the bit where Ryu masters the power of nothingness is so beautiful. So, it was the most beautiful moment in there, cinematically speaking. The music was perfect. It was just so beautiful. When he sidesteps Nikali knows something's up. Dhalsim tells him he's done. It's just amazing. And the butterfly, which, is equated to... well, I won't spoil it for anybody who hasn't already done the story mode. But there's a connection. There's a reason that he makes there's a connection. There's a reason he makes the breakthrough to the power of nothingness. And the power of nothingness basically means that he is no longer seduced by the Sasu no Hado, which means that you are very... Sorry to break this to you guys. If they stick to the story, it's very unlikely that we will see evil Ryu in this game. Very unlikely. Unless it's a flashback, it's very unlikely. Will we see Violent Ken? That's a possibility, I guess. Although Violent Ken is supposed to be because of M. Bison, and again, I think you need to watch story mode to understand why M. Bison is not in Street Fighter 3, because that's what story mode was supposed to be all about, right? It's like, how do we get from Street Fighter 2 to Street Fighter 3? And Street Fighter 4. Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 4, and then Street Fighter 3. How do we get there? But there's a lot of beautiful moments, but I just felt like it was an anime with fights in between. Which is fine, kind of alright, but it's not... People get bored. So you need to add other gameplay elements if you're going to take story mode seriously. Now, Mortal Kombat have been trying to innovate a little bit. Like, they have quick time events. Okay, so you press the button when you're supposed to press the button. And that's fine. Feel a little bit more involved in that. You have to redo it if you get it wrong and get the timing right and all that sort of stuff. That's all well and good. Arcade mode, which we don't have, obviously, used to have the bricks and the barrels and all that sort of stuff. Again, that's quite interesting. It's different, something different to do. Feels like you're making some progress. It also goes on as leaderboard, scoreboard, all that sort of stuff. But if I had my dream, my absolute dream, I'm being super idealistic here. Square Enix or Disney or somebody would buy out Capcom and invest a hell of a lot of money and pump it into this evergreen franchise, which is Street Fighter. I know it's evergreen because I know people who collect Street Fighter to this day who don't play it, just used to play it when they were a kid, just love the characters, they collect all sorts of stuff. They know all about it. Some of them only, believe it or not, I know people who loved the original Street Fighter anime. Didn't even like the game that much. They just loved the anime. So a lot of their history comes from that. You know, they talk a lot about like Vega when he confronts Chun-Li in the shower, because, you know, obviously that was a pretty hot scene when you were like so high. But if I had all the money in the world, I'd make like I'd make like an action RPG. I'd give you a slightly free roaming world. You know, like, I don't really care about the graphics. Like, you could make it like Zelda: Link to the Past, for all I care. I got Ryu and I wander around. I'm Ryu and I meet people and I meet Rufus in a bar talking some crap. You know, I don't even have to fight him, but like, it's just like, you know, wander around, interact with people. You know, that RPG-esque feel to it. And then when you finally do get to the fights are like you fight in a Street Fighter game. That's how you fight. And so again, it's about stories and connection, emotional connection, and like wanting to be part of this world, and, you know, just creating a great game. I don't know that anyone's ever done that with a fighting game. I'm not sure. Maybe they have. Maybe they haven't. Maybe they haven't done it right. I don't know. But like, if you had a really good story mode, that's sort of how I would do it. And it wouldn't be to diminish the level and the level and amazingness of the fighting game. It's just, I think there are a lot of avenues into the actual fighting game and esports. And I think storylines are them. And storylines are either outside of the game, and they are players and rivalries and all that stuff. And they can be inside the game, because it's a game. So they can be storylines, plot lines about the characters. So you can have focus on the characters and you can have focus on the players. And if you had all the money in the world, then you could probably do it all. But I kind of get the impression that Capcom doesn't have a huge marketing budget. And with that said, I think I've just talked for way too long. My voice hurts, and I don't think anybody's going to listen to any of this. But whatever, it's kind of a little experiment on my side. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the support. Capcom, you know, I only want you guys to do well. Have always wanted that. Always remember the Capcom logo coming up on screen, no matter all the games I used to play when I was a kid, Ghouls and Ghosts, you know, and particularly Street Fighter, entering the code to be able to play Ken versus Ken in the very first SNES Street Fighter game. You know, I only want you guys to do well. So anything that I've said here is done in the hopes that some of it is helpful. And to everybody else, I think you should all do the same thing. Do it respectfully, and do it logically. And because they're listening. They're definitely listening. And we can all make a difference. And I think we all, you know, the fighting game community always has. Way before my time. And there are some amazing leaders in the fighting game community, and if I was able to list them all now, I would. But there's way too many of them. You know, if you can make a difference out there, then do it. And I hope everybody continues to enjoy playing Street Fighter. I hope Street Fighter, the game, continues to get better, and the experience continues to get better, and the esports experience continues to get better. And big hopes. I'm so happy that Rick Fox is involved, and brought, you know, let's face it, he's brought his hobby money in, and made it kind of exciting. And I hope that we get to a stage where we don't need the hobby money. What we have is an environment which is making enough money for itself, turning over enough money for itself to support these players and these teams. And with that said, I just want to say thank you everybody for supporting my channel, and peace out. I will see you in the next video.